Right now we are learning this week's Torah portion, which is called Yitro. Yitro features mainly the receiving of the Torah. The Jewish people received the Torah on Mount Sinai, and that is the main topic of this week's Torah portion. So the Jewish people, we just finished learning, they left Egypt. Shalom. All right, so we just finished learning that the Jewish people left Egypt and they went across the sea. And they complained about they didn't have water. And Moses struck the rock and he brought them water. And the Jewish people had to fight a battle against Amalek. That's right in the very end. And now here they are. The Jewish people are now on the way, on their way to receive the Torah. Yeah, on their way to receive the Torah. All right, now there's a big question, when exactly this happened. The Ramban goes into it at great length, and we're not going to go into great length. But the question is did Yitro come before the Torah was given or after the Torah was given? It seems that, according to Rashi, he came before the Torah was given, but there's a lot of good reasons to say it was after the Torah was given. It's not, that crucial, even though it's very important, but it's not that crucial when exactly he came, because he did come, and he certainly came in the proximity of the giving of the Torah. And it was certainly connected to the giving of the Torah. So according to one opinion, one of the reasons that he came to Moses was because he heard about the Torah being given. So obviously that was after. Other opinions is no, that he came only because he heard about the war. The Jewish people crossed the sea, and then they made a war against Amalek, and that's why he came. In any case, he made a major move. Yisro made a major move. He was sitting high. He was the king of idolatry. He was a big ruler over in Midian, where he was sitting, and he was respected and well. And suddenly he left. He left all the riches and left everything, and he went to Moses. And that's what this is talking about. So let's go. Vayishma Yitro. Now, if you remember, Yitro was the father-in-law of Moses. Moses knew Yitro. He had been by Yitro when he was fleeing Paro. Remember, Paro wanted to kill him, and so he miraculously escaped the sword of Paro, which we're going to talk about now. And he ran to Midian, and he met the daughters of Yitro that were trying to water their sheep, and they were having trouble. So Moses helped them water their sheep. And finally, he got married to one of the daughters of Yitro, right? He got married to Tzipporah, and he had two sons, Gershon and Eliezer. But he left them back there. We'll see why. In any case, Yitro is now sitting back in Midian with Tzipporah, Moses' wife, and the two sons. And now he hears about something. We'll see what he hears about. And he leaves it all and he comes to Moses. So by Yishma Yisro, the Yisro heard. Who is this Yisro? Kohen Midian, the high priest of Midian. Kochoten Moshe, the father-in-law of Moshe. He heard, what did he hear? At Kol Asher Asah Elokim Moshe, everything that God did to Moses and to the Jewish people, his people, the people of Moses, the Yisrael Amo. Now the Jewish people are the people of Moses, but of course they're the people of God, but most exactly they're the people of Moses. Ki Hotzi Hashem es Yisrael miMitzrayim. God took them out of Egypt. That's pretty, but it doesn't say that he heard, take all this extra stuff. It could be extra. So it says you could just write Yisro, the Kohen Midian, the father-in-law of Moshe, heard, right? Vayishma, what did he hear? Ki hotzi Hashem mitzrayim. You could take all these words out. Et kol asher asa Elokim Moshe of Yisrael Amo. Just put it. So it must be that he heard something else, in addition to the fact that God took them all out of Egypt. So let's see what it is. Rashi. Vayishma Yitro Yisrael heard Ma Shema Shema. Well, what is Shemua? What type of news did he hear when he came? Kriyat Yam Suf Milchamet Amalek. He heard about the splitting of the sea, and he heard about the war with Amalek. What's his name? Yisro. Now, if you remember, we heard before that they called him Ru'el, and they called him different things. Rashi says, Sheva Shemot Nikru Lo. Yitro, in fact, had 7 different names. Ru'el, Yeter, Yitro, Chovev, Chaver, Kini, Putiel. Yeter, because there was added one section of the Torah for him. Va'ata Techazeh Yitro. Kishinitgayer, oh, I'm sorry, Techazeh. That's why his name was called Yeter. That was when Moses Yitro gave advice to Moses that he should make courts of justice. And that the courts of justice, they should try all of the cases instead of Moses sitting from morning until evening and giving Torah advice and laws to everybody. So he should appoint people. So his name was called Yeter. Next, Yitro, when he converted and started doing the commandments. Therefore, there was added another letter to his name. Instead of Yeter, it was called Yitro. Chovev, he's explaining these names. Why? Chovev, because he endeared the Torah. Chovev means endeared. Chovev hu Yitro. And Chovev, how do we know that Chovev is Yisro? Because it says, Mibenei Chovev, Choten Moshe. It says that Chovev was the father-in-law of Moshe. Moses only had one wife, only one father-in-law. Some people say Ru'el was the father of Yitro. And why does it say Vataveno el Ru'el Avihen? Because children call their grandfather father. Okay. Choten Moshe. Here he is called Yitro. He honored Moses. Choten Moshe. He is Mitchabed Moshe. What was the special quality of Yitro? Because he was the father-in-law of Moses. Ani Chotencha Amelech. He is the father-in-law of the king. But in the past, Moses, he would get his honor from the fact, you know who my father-in-law is? Is Yitro. Like it says, Vayeshev el Yeter Chotno. That in the past, Moses, he would, his claim to glory was that Yitro was his father-in-law. And now it's turned around. Moses, after going out of Egypt, he's the famous one. LaMoshe the Israel, what does it say? That Yitro heard everything that God did to Moses and to the Jews. His people. Just say what he did to all the Jews. Moses is part of the Jews. Why does it have to put Moses and the Jews? Moses is something separate from the Jews? It says here we learn Shakol Moshe Keneged Kol Yisrael, that Moses was equal to all of the Jewish people. And Moses was the leader of the Jewish people. Without the Jewish people, it's like the head is equal to the whole body, right? Without the head. Et kol asher asa, everything that God did, what did he do? Brought them manna from heaven. He brought them water from a well. He defeated Amalek. And God took the Jews out of Egypt. This is the greatest of all of them. That God, not only did he feed Amalek and he split the sea, but he took the Jews out of Egypt. Baal HaTurim says something very interesting. I mean, they all say something very interesting, but we don't have time to go over all of them here. Yitro, the rabbis say that he heard about the splitting of the Yam Suf. When the sea split, it says that Yitro gave a loud roar. Ad sheshamu kol malchei mizrach u'marav. It says all the kings of the east and the west heard him moan. That's what it says. Vayinaham alav kenahamas yom. A sentence, I don't know, we'll have to see what the sentence is. But Omer, it says, Sheyishma milchamat Amalek, and also he heard about the war of Amalek. This really astounded him. Yitro. He was called the Kohen Moshe, Kohen Midian. Yitro, the high priest of Midian, Choten Moshe. These words, Vayishma Yitro, Kohen Moshe Chatan. Baal HaTurim was a big expert in, had a tremendous sense of gematrias. He says, this is the gematria of Elu, Haim, Kriyat, Hayam, Umilchamat, Amalek. These are those, the splitting of the sea and the war with Amalek. That's the gematria of Vayishma Yitro Kohen Midian Choten. Those words, these first 5 words, are the gematria of splitting of the sea and the war with Amalek. Vayishma Yitro Kohen Midian Choten. Moshe, you can count them up if you want to. Do it after the class. The word Yitro is the gematria, the numerical value of Komer Haya La'avoda Zorah. He was a priest for idolatry. Pretty interesting. And also Yitro are the same letters as, well, almost, Ha-Torah, the Yud, 2 Ha's, Ha-Torah. Shabolit Gayer, that he wanted to convert, Ulakabel Torah, to receive the Torah. So says the Rosh, Rabbi Usher was the father of the Baal HaTurim. Yitro, listen to this, Yitro is called Yeter. Vav. Yeter, Vav. Vav is the number 6 because he had Shishisha Shemos, that 6 names he had. Yeter because 6 names more on other people. Usually people have 1 name, that's all. Some people say like this, he wanted to receive the 10 commandments, and that's Yitor, 10 commandments, and Taf Reish Vav commandments more than the 7 first ones that all humanity are commanded. Now, all humanity are commanded 7 commandments. 7 commandments. And Taru, how many commandments are there altogether? 613. So he already did 7. He wanted to come by converting, means that he was adding on 606 more. So that's Taru, and among those 606 additional ones, were the 10 commandments. So that's what it means, Yitro, the 10 commandments, and the 606 additional commandments on the 7 that he was already doing. Non-Jews have 7 commandments, right? Everything that God commanded to Moses, that's what God commanded to Moses. Okay, let's go further. Come, let's not spend too much time on this, even though it's very, very interesting. Okay, I'll just say in a short way what the OrHachaim says. He says the OrHachaim says like this. Why does it have to say that Yitro Choten Kohen Midian Choten Moshe? What do you have to have these 2 titles for? Yitro, everybody knows who Yitro was. We talked about it before. Yitro is the father-in-law of Moses. So it says there were 2 reasons why Yitro was great. And they are stressed by these two titles. He was the high priest of Midian, namely, he was the high priest and he was sitting good. He worshipped all the idols, and all the idols were, subservient to him in a way. And he left it all. And that's number one. So that's a thing that, high priests don't do, leaving the whole thing. It's like the Pope decides that he's going to, go and be a dentist or something. You don't do that, especially if the Pope decides that he's going to convert to Judaism. Wow, that's really terrible. The Pope he's like the high guy, right? I mean, all these cardinals and bishops are all kissing his robes, whatever they're doing, and all of a sudden he just becomes a regular guy like everybody else. Rides his bicycle to the synagogue and who knows what. So that's one thing that made him very special. He left this high position to be a simple Jew. Number two, he was the Choten Moshe. Even before he changed his religion, he allowed Moses to get married to his daughters. Now, a high priest I guess the Pope doesn't work in this case, but a high priest doesn't do things like that, right? You'd say you're the king of who knows what, of Russia. You don't let your children get married to some Jew that has nothing to do with whatsoever the whole country. He's a foreigner from a different place. He's not of royalty at all. Nobody even knows who he is. Who lets their daughter get married to somebody if you're such a... Because the word Kohen means two different things. Kohen means a high priest, and it also means a big ruler. So besides that he was a high priest, how is he converting? And if he was a big ruler, how does he let his daughter get to marry some stranger that comes from not only that he was running away from Paro. He knew what was going on, but he was running away from Paro. He had been sentenced to death. So that's why it mentions these two names, to let us know about these two amazing miracles that happened to Moses. Let's go further. Even though we could really stand on this for a while, but Yitro, the father-in-law of Moses, took Tzipporah. Tzipporah is Moses' wife, right? His daughter, Yitro's daughter. After he sent her away, who did he send her away? Who sent who away? When God spoke to Moses in Midian, Lech Shuv Mitzrayim, go back to Egypt. Now let's remember a little bit chronologically what happened over here. Moses was brought up in Egypt, and he killed an Egyptian man. And Datan and Aviram, two evil Jews, they informed on him. And Moses was put on chopping block to chop his head off. It was a big miracle that happened. And his neck turned to marble or something. And the sword did not cut his neck, and he ran away. Moses ran away. So he ran away, and he was waiting for the king to die, or at least for the thing to cool off a little bit. So he ran over there, and he gets married meanwhile, he runs to Midian, gets married to the daughter of Yitro, and her name is Tzipporah. And now, and then he gets married to Tzipporah, and he gives birth to his first son. And then God comes and tells him, this was Rashi told us, God told him that you can go back. You can go back to Midian, that the king had died, and all the people that are looking for you, they've all died, and your case has been closed. Moses, you can go back. So as soon as he said that, Moses took his wife and his sons, and and he went back to Egypt. He was on his way back to Egypt. God told him to go back. All of a sudden, Aaron meets him. And he meets him on Mount Sinai. Remember, this is the whole story with the burning bush. Omerlo says, Aaron, who are you? Who are these two people? So Moses says, wow, this is great. Meeting Aaron, I haven't seen you in a long time. What an amazing miracle. Just like God said, I'm going to take the Jews out of Egypt. Aaron said, oh, good idea. And you're going to be my spokesman. Oh, okay, says Aaron. Who are these people with you? What's this lady and these two young children? Omer, he said, Zui Ishti, this is my wife, Shenasati b'Midian, that I gave birth, that I married in Midian. These are my two sons. Omer lo, heichan atam molichem, where are you going with them? Omer lo, Moses said, L'mitzrayim, to Egypt. Aaron said, God told you to take your wife and your children? Well, not exactly. Aaron said, on the first Jews that are in Egypt, we want to get them out of there. And you're taking new Jews in? So he said to his wife and his two children, my brother has a good point. I'll fetch you. Don't worry about it. Go back home to your father. So she took her two sons and she left. Okay, so Moses took his wife and his two sons. One of them is called Gershom, because I was a stranger in a strange land. And the other one was called Eliezer, because the God of my fathers was my assistance. And he saved me. He saved me from the sword of Paro. When did he save him from the sword of Paro? Like I said to you, says Rashi, when Datan and Aviram, the two evil Jews, went and informed on Moses, they told Paro that Moses has killed the Mitzri. So Bikesh Moshe, they wanted to kill Moses. Naset Savoronka Amud Shel Shayesh, and his neck became like a pillar of marble, and the sword was not able to cut Moses' head off. So therefore, God would help me, and he saved me from the sword of Paro, because that happened before Moses left Egypt and before he got married and before he had the son, but he still remembered it, and that's why he called his name Eliezer. Vayovo Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, and his sons and his wife to Moshe, to the desert where he was camping. There is the mountain of God. This is one of the reasons to say that maybe he came there after the Torah was given. By the way, if you want to see all the arguments about why it was, you look in the Ramban over here. Here it is. The Ramban, he starts off, this is the first sentence. I skipped it over. It says, there's a different opinion. It says the Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman. He said, our rabbis already argue. Some say that this happened before Matan Torah, and some say that it happened after Matan Torah. And he brings proofs for both. It's very beautiful how he does it. So Moses, I'm sorry. So Yitro is now coming to Moses, and he brings his wife and his two children. He's coming to meet Moses. Elamidbar, Perish, Be'im Tomar, if you say, how did Yitro know where Moses was? I mean, they didn't have any phones back then, or no, postal service or GPS or what. There's no roads. How could he even know where Moses was? That's what it says, that he's camping by the mountain of God. Kavaro Dio, Moses already let him know. He sent the messengers to Yitro. That he should come to the place where God spoke to him. Okay, now Yisro knew where this place was because Moses had already married his daughter and they already had a son. And this is already where, when Moses was tending the flocks, so of Yitro, so this is where God appeared to him. This was on Mount Sinai. So he knew where the place was. So Moses just sent back to his father, come to that place where God spoke to me in the first place. Where God told me that we were going to serve God, and he let him know that this was the mountain that the Jews were going to receive the Torah. And that's what it says, Chonasham Haro Elokim. This was the mountain that was already known to Yitro. So it comes out, that's what it says, She'omer Moshe, the Yitro, and in Kabbalah's the Torah, that when he told him the idea of receiving the Torah, that he wrote it, so if so, letting him know where the place was that the Torah was going to be given, that was part of the message that Moses gave him. Vayomer, and Yitro said to Moses, Ani chotencha Yisro, I am your father-in-law, Yitro. I have come to you, and your wife and your two daughters. I brought your wife and your two daughters with you. Now Moses had already been here. Yitron is not yet reached. It says Vayetze Moshe likrat chotno. So what does it mean that he said, Yitro said to Moshe? If he said to Moshe, then why did Moses have to go after him later? He was speaking face to face. Not says no, they weren't face to face. They were far away. And Yitro sent a message to Moses saying, "Here I am. I'm coming. I am your messenger. Your father-in-law, Yitro, and I have come to you." The Ramban said this is obviously written in a letter, because if a messenger would have just come, he would not have said on his own, I am Yisro. He would have said, your father-in-law has come to meet you. That would have said that I am Yitro means that it must be a shliach, that the messenger read a letter that Yitro wrote to Moses when they had not yet reached him. And that's what he said. If you don't want to come out for me, then come out for your wife. And if you don't want to come out to meet me because of your wife, at least come out because of your two sons. Now he knew that Moses was an important person. Moses was now leading all the Jewish people. So he wanted Moses to come out when it was convenient for Moses. If right now, that would even be more wonderful. Moses went to meet his father-in-law, and he bowed down to him, and he kissed him, and each asked the other one, "How are you?" And they came to the tent. Moses went out to meet Yitro. Kavod Gadol, he gave him a great honor. He gave to Yitro at that time. Since Moses went out, as Aaron also went out, and none of an Avihu, which was Aaron's two oldest sons, went out. And anyone who saw these two people going out and wouldn't go out. And so all the Jewish people went out to meet Yitro. And he bowed down and he kissed him. Who bowed down to who? I don't know who bowed down to who. When it says Ish l're'eu, so the Ish bowed down to his friend. Who is this Ish? That's Moshe. Like it says, Ish Moshe. When the Jewish people made the golden calf, so they says, Ish Moshe. So Moshe is called the Ish. So there's Moses bowed down to his father-in-law. All right. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Good, here we go. Moses said to his father-in-law, everything that God did to Paro and to Egypt, al adot Yisrael, for the sake of the Jews, Eit kol hatalah, all of the adventures, asher matzam b'derech, that occurred on the way, vayatzilim Hashem, and how God saved them. Rashi, what did Moses tell Yitro? He told him several things in order to arouse his heart and to bring him closer to the Torah. All of the all of the miracles, what happened to them, all the adventures that they had on the sea, what happened with Amalek, all of the Hatala'ah. Okay, that means the adventures, etc. This is grammar. You have to realize that Rashi was speaking over here. There were no grammar books, and the Torah was never punctuated. So Rashi he knew what was given over from the previous generations, what the punctuation is, and now he's just proving it. He's just proving it, driving it home, giving us a lesson. It says, Yitro heard about all these wonderful things, but he wasn't 100% sure if really God had done it or not. So it says, when Moses told Yitro about how, it says, all of the adventures that, I'm sorry, everything that God did to Paro and to Egypt. What does it mean to Paro and to Egypt? He mainly did to Egypt, right? Or did to the Egyptian people. What happened to the Egyptian people? Mitzrayim. It's not so clear what it's saying over here. So the OrHachaim said, oh yeah, it's very clear. Mitzrayim is the name of the god, the main god of Egypt. And that's what it means, that Moses let Yitro know that not just the Egyptian people were pursuing them, and not just Paro and the armies were pursuing them, but the Sar, the angel, the guardian angel of Egypt, was pursuing the Jews. Yitro, he was the master of idolatry, so for sure he knew all of the ministering angels of each and every nation. So Moses told him that not only the nation was pursuing them, but also the angel himself of that nation. Like it says, Mitzrayim nosim achreim. It says that Egypt, the name of the god was Egypt, and he was running after the Jews. That's why the Jews were so afraid. Like I explained there, when Yitro heard that God had destroyed the god of Egypt, there he said that, wow, thank God that you saved the Jews from under the hand of Egypt. Shu Asar, namely this angel that the Jews were saved from. Vayichad Yisrael, and Yisro was happy on all the good that God did to the Jewish people, that he saved them from Mitzrayim. This is that angel. Sforno says something interesting, that he was happy on the good that God did to the Jews, but he wasn't so happy that he destroyed Egypt. He wasn't as happy as he should have been on the destruction of Egypt. Like it says, "Vayismach tzaddik yichazan nakam." A true tzaddik would have been happy to see the destruction of the enemies of the Jews. But he wasn't that happy, and we'll see why in a minute. But he was happy about the good that God did to the Jews. All right, why Vayichad Yisrael, that he was joyful? Now, Yichad also means to be like sharp, like points. Yismach Yisrael, that he was happy. That's a simple meaning. But the Midrash said Nase basara chidudim. There were goose pimples all over his skin. Meitzar al ibud Mitzrayim, that he was, how do you say, shocked about the destruction of Egypt. That's what people say. Giura ad esra dori lo tavazi armayil bapei. A convert, 10 generations from a convert, don't say bad things about non-Jews in front of him. He's 99% Jew, but there's a little tiny bit, that 1%, that 10%, that still he identifies with the non-Jews. So watch what you say. As soon as he heard that the Egyptians were destroyed, so he was happy that the Jews got out, but it still was a little bit, how do you say, he was a little bit shaken by the fact that all the non-Jews were destroyed. Al Kol Tova, what type of good did Yitro hear about that he was praising? The good of the man and the water and the Torah and all of the fact that God saved them from Egypt. Here it seems to imply that this was after the Torah. Up to now, Egypt was a place that no servant, no slave had ever run away from. Not even one slave had ever broken out. And this was a totally closed up place. And all of a sudden now came out 600,000 just men from the age of 20 up. Incredible. Vayomer Yisro, Baruch Hashem, thank God that saved you from the hands of Egypt, from the hands of Paro, that he saved the people from the hand of Egypt. Mityad Mitzrayim is a hard nation. Paro is a hard king. The heart of, like it says, Ridui V'moros. Not only that, you were slaves to them, but they also made you suffer and work hard. Thank God that you got out of that difficult servitude. Ata yadati, now I know. Ki gadol Hashem. This is Yitro saying that great is God, the God of the Jews, from all of the other gods, because in that thing which they tried to do to you, you did to them. Rashi. Now I know. Now, says Rashi, I recognize and I'm sorry. I recognized in the past, I intellectually knew, but now even more. From all, I know that your God is greater than all the other gods. This comes to teach you, Shemakir Bakol Avodat Elohim, that Yitro knew all of the idolatry in the world. That there was no idol or idolatry or idol worship that he did not do. Ki b'davar asher zadu, katarguma, like it says, water. You tried to destroy, Paro tried to destroy the Jews with water, right? He drowned all the males. And now it ended up that all of them got destroyed in water. Asher Yishu, that which the Egyptians were evil, and they tried to kill the Jews with water. So amazingly, God punished them with water. This really shook up. Vayikach Yisro, and so Yitro, the father-in-law of Moshe, took sacrifices, olav, zvachim, to God, and Aaron and all the elders of Israel came to eat bread with Choten Moshe in front of God. What does that mean? Ola means sacrifices that are totally burnt. Zvachim are sacrifices which are eaten by the owners. Moses and Aaron and all the elders came to eat together with Yitro. Where was Moses? Why didn't Moses come? Hello, he was the one that came to meet Yitro. He was the one that gave him all the glory. Moses, he was serving. He was bringing the food. He was serving. He was cleaning the tables. From here we know that a person who eats together with Talmidei Chachamim, with Torah scholars, that it's as though he is eating benefiting from the rays of God's presence, of the rays of the Shekhinah. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. See you all together at 8:15. Tomorrow morning we'll continue learning Torah or and Dvar Malchut. Have a good day with Mashiach now. Shalom uvracha. Oh, tonight, by the way, is what? Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat Higia, the Rosh Hashanah of trees. We'll talk about what that means tomorrow.